Hello, friends. Good evening. Here I am again, and let's talk about relationships once more. Hello, friends. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Join us. So let's see. Let's talk about relationships and dynamics in relationships. Hello, people. I see you all coming in. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, so tonight I want to talk about dynamics in relationships, and especially the dynamic of what to do when my partner is avoidant. What to do when my partner is afraid of commitment. And or maybe you are the partner who's afraid of commitment and you are the partner who's avoidant. So this is for you too. So basically this is for everyone in a relationship of any kind, open, monogamous, non-monogamous, polyamorous, or even with your parents, friends, or anyone you relate to in this world. First of all, let's start. Maybe you're watching and you're thinking like, yes, my partner is avoidant, or yes, I am an avoidant partner. Well, there is always a dynamic, which means there is two poles in a dynamic. If your partner is avoidant, fearing commitment, then probably you're on the other side of the spectrum, at the same distance of the middle as your partner is. And so what is this talk about avoidant and anxious? So basically, a small recap on attachment dynamics, like attachment patterns, adult attachment patterns. It's super interesting topic, and everyone in any kind of relationship, I can advise you to learn something about this and learn your style. But to just give you a short introduction into the matter, is that sometimes people are very comfortable attaching themselves to other people, which means they are, which is called being securely attached. And it means you have no trouble with intimacy. You can express your desires, you can express your needs, you have no problem letting people in close. You just feel very comfortable with intimacy. And also many of us are not that comfortable with intimacy. We got some walls around our hearts. We feel a bit afraid of letting people in. And basically either you feel safe or you don't feel safe. And if you don't feel safe in intimacy, there are two basic strategies of dealing with that fear of letting someone close. One is to keep them as close as possible and to look for a lot of confirmations and affirmations and having them near. That is anxious attachment. That's a fear of abandonment. So the strategy is that when you're insecure about the intimacy, you want people close. These are the people who get nervous when you send a text to your beloved and they don't answer right away, that you start creating these stories of, oh my God, maybe they ran off and will never come back. Maybe I'm not loved. That's anxious attachment strategy. The avoidant attachment strategy is to keep distance through, like literally keeping distance. It can be like giving confusing messages, giving compliments, then being very critical. It can also mean withdrawing sex, not having sex to create a physical distance. It can be not answering those messages that your partner is sending. And not saying why you need some space on your own. Like all these ways to keep distance. And basically what both strategies are doing is creating distance. One by coming closer and asking for a lot of confirmation. Creating the unsafety and the other partner to step away. These two poles attract each other massively. They attract each other a lot. The person who is like asking someone to come closer but is actually afraid to let someone in will search for someone who's taking distance whenever they do, because if they find someone who's not taking distance, they actually have someone very close, and that's the scary thing. And the other way around. So often you see people at a similar distance from, if you see secure as in the middle and anxious on one side and avoidant on the other side, both will be a sort of equal distance from the middle. Having said that, this is about a preferred strategy. So if you're anxiously attached, like I am, like I'm the person who is looking for confirmation and stuff, uh, it doesn't mean I always use that strategy. Like when I meet someone, like when someone's actually coming closer, I can suddenly switch to avoidant, to being an avoidant and having this fear of someone close. So I will always create a certain distance until I feel safe. Let's take a breath there. So a lot of people, and probably many of us who are watching this, have some kind of a fear of letting people come close because you're watching this. Welcome all these people who are joining in. So, how to deal with an avoidant partner? Basically, for both strategies, both people, whether you have a fear of abandonment or a fear of commitment, there is a fear for intimacy. So for anyone who feels insecure in a relationship, the homework is to learn to feel more safe. So there's two parts of this. One part is to do the inner work. For me, as more anxiously attached, to recognize the stories, to recognize where I create stories of fear that are not true, that are not there, and to learn to hold space for myself in that fear and not need the affirmation and confirmation of my partner all the time. Because, I can't chase them away by constantly asking for confirmation. Another part that I'm doing as homework is to, when I do feel this need for confirmation, to express it that way. So to say like, hey, I feel insecure about your love. Can you please tell me what I mean to you? Instead of like, if we don't ask for it like that, we will ask for it like under the table. We will find ways, we will have a hidden agenda, and that then we go to this draining energy and doesn't feel nice. So the one part is to work on ourselves. For me as anxious, so to learn to deal with the fears, to learn to hold space for myself, to find friends who can help me sit through that. The other part is to work with my partner. So to learn to express my desires within the relationship and not hold back and make myself small, because this is what people with a fear of abandonment will do, is that they make themselves smaller often and go with the other partner. So they compromise even before they talk about needs and desires, and then they probably compromise their compromises. At least this has been my strategy because of a fear of chasing someone away. So to get to know yourself, to see through yourself whenever you are doing that, whenever you're compromising, and to learn to speak up for your needs, and then we'll have a talk, and not compromising before the talk even starts. So the homework for people with an avoidance strategy is to learn to figure out what they are doing. Like, when are you running and how are you running and what are you actually running from? And do you need to run, or can you actually stay present with this feeling and show up anyway? And to tell your partner like, hey, I'm freaking out a little bit. I'm afraid of this commitment. I want it and I'm afraid of it. And actually, I'm going to go for a walk for an hour now. I'll be back in an hour. I'm just going to take a breath and I'll be back. So to speak up that you need some space, because when you're avoidant, you might need some space and some time on yourself. So to speak up for that, and also to speak your desires. A strategy for more avoidant people is to make themselves bigger and to make their needs and desires more important than the ones of their partners. So you see that there can be a very poisonous dynamic happening here, where the more anxiously attached partner makes themselves smaller and the more avoidant attached partner makes themselves bigger. And if you are in a relationship like that long enough, it can become quite abusive. And I can tell you from my own experience that it's not very helpful for either of you. And this is not blaming any partner. This is a dynamic that you're co-creating that is not going to make you happy. So going back to the original question of this evening's topic, like what to do when I notice that my partner is avoidant. So first of all, check in with yourself. Are you anxiously attached? And if so, start doing your homework. The homework that I just taught you. And call out your partner when you feel that they are running away. Tell them, like, hey, I feel you slipping away. What's happening? I feel the distance that's happening here. What's happening? And speak your desires. Speak your desires. Hey, I actually desire you to be close. I desire you to feel you. What is it that you need so that we can have a conversation? And to check in with your partner, like, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid of letting me close? What are you afraid of? Because it's not easy to drop these dynamics. It's not easy because we're wired in a way. Once this strategy saved our asses many times probably. So to drop this strategy and to actually let someone in close, whether you're anxiously or avoidant attached, it's fucking scary. So take time. Take time. Give your partner, if they are avoidant, give them some space, give them some time, and ask them to come back. Hey, how much time do you need for yourself, and can you come back afterwards? And call them out. Tell them, hey, I need you. It's hurting me that you're running away. Can you please come back? Without being blaming. It's very easy to go into blaming or shaming or making this wrong both ways. And that's not going to help you. That is not going to help you. So if your partner is avoidant, keep practicing speaking up your desires. And know that if your relationship with you is not good, your relationship with another will never be good either. Meaning that you have to prioritize your own needs and desires. Make them the most important thing. And that doesn't mean that your own desires, that there's no compromise, that there's no talk. But if you are like compromising beyond what's healthy for you, then your relationship will never be great. And to make it work, like many of us have this anxious avoidant dynamic going on in our relationships. The only way to move out of it is for both partners to do the work. Both partners to do the work. And the work is basically the same. Speak out your desires. Speak out your needs. Even if it's space, even if it's affirmation or confirmation, but speak up and open up to each other anyway. No matter how scared you are. Show yourself. Show your vulnerability. Tell them, hey, I actually need your confirmation. I'm so scared right now. Or say, hey, I need some space because I feel overwhelmed right now. I'll be back. But I need some time and space. So speak out your desires and show up. Show up. It can be hard. It can be hard, especially if you have a fear of commitment. It can be very hard to stay present. Like when you have a fear of commitment, when you're avoidant, there will be a pitfall of saying like, oh, so this relationship, so you were not the one. So you were not the one. So you know what? I'm going to look onwards. I'm going to look further. I'm going to let you go and I'll look for something else. Or look for distractions. Especially if you are in a non-monogamous relationship and you are avoidant, it's super easy to go to lovers, to go somewhere else and find distance through that. And that can be a big pitfall of open relating. On the other side of the spectrum, if you're anxiously attached, you can do the same thing basically for a different motivation. You can find lovers or others or run and get your fulfillment somewhere else and let them come close. So be aware of your strategy. And if you are in an open relationship, don't let other partners, let lovers be the distraction of facing this part. Because it's going to put a bomb under your relationship if you don't work through this together. Because you know you're going to like avoid the rough things together and get fulfillment elsewhere, where your primary relationship, if you have one, or this relationship, will never be as good as it gets. Because if you don't work on it and you do decide to stay together and accept the other partner to either be afraid or fleeing, then the quality of your relationship satisfaction will be lower. And if you strive for having the most fulfilling relationship, then you have to face these parts. You have to work through it. And it can be hard, and it really requires both of you to work on it. Because like I'm experiencing this in many of my relationships, like being anxiously avoid, I tend to attract more, being more anxiously attached, I tend to attract, all these words with A's, more avoidant partners. So, and my experience is that the more I step out of the anxiety, so the more I speak up for what I need, the more I actually push the buttons of my partners. So the more they actually move into their avoidance strategies. And that's quite scary. So my practice at the moment is to speak up my desires, my needs, my boundaries all of the time. And to say every time like, hey, I want you with me. I want you here. I invite you to be here with me. This is what I need and this is what I don't need. I want you to show up for me. And I'm showing up for you. I'm scared, but I'm showing up for you. Will you show up with me as well? So that's what we can do. That's what we can do. Speak our desires, speak our needs, speak our boundaries, and show up anyway. Show up no matter how scared you are. And consciously choose to be in this relationship. And with that meaning, consciously choosing to be in a relationship means consciously choosing for this person with all that they bring. Whether that's a whole backload of trauma, whether that's pets, whether that's children, whether that is a business, whether that is a house or living in a certain country or some life desires. That's all part of it. That's all part of it. And then show up for all of that with all that you got. Speak your desires and then communicate. Show up and be in it together, because there's also a reason why we attract these people. And I truly believe that it's not easy, but I truly believe that there are very few other ways to grow this deeply and this fast as through working through these dynamics, because we've created them when we were most vulnerable. We've created our attachment dynamics when we were most vulnerable. So they go to our cores, they touch upon our deepest pain. And finding a partner or people in our lives that trigger those parts is the best medicine to grow into as loving and open as we can ever be. So we can maybe see this as a gift as well. See these challenges, these triggering, difficult relationships as the most healing medicine we could think of. This goes deeper than any workshop can tell you. So that's what I want to share with you now. I see a question whether this will be on non-Facebook. Yes, I'll upload this to my blog as well later on. So this was what I wanted to share with you tonight. Feel free to keep sending me your questions about relationships, and sending you big love, all of you. Thank you for sharing some moments with me and this little fly that's flying around my face. And I'll be offline mostly for the next 2 weeks starting Sunday. So just send in your questions and I'll collect them and get back to you when I got decent internet again, which I don't know if that will happen in the next 2 weeks. But if not, I'll see you after that. I just posted a list of the events coming up in the next few months, and I'm like even surprising myself, overwhelming myself with all the goodness that's coming up. So check out my previous Facebook post for some goodness. There's a lot coming up. So thank you for sharing time with me, and I'm looking forward to more and more and more. Mwah.